stuff. So it's a global education nonprofit, and we're national, so we have 3 offices, one in San Francisco, one in Minneapolis, and one in New York City. And the goal of the organization is to help public schools bring a more global perspective to their curriculum using art and media. How many of you feel like you learned a lot about the world in elementary or high school? Okay, a couple of you. Oh, good, I'm glad. The majority of the country doesn't necessarily teach to the world. We have a tendency to kind of think within our own borders and occasionally talk about other parts of the world, maybe because we were at war with those places, and maybe that's why it's like a reason to learn. So World Savvy's goal is to help teachers realize that they can talk about the world with everything that they're teaching, and that today, because we're living in such a global economy and the workforce is going global, there are a lot of reasons why it's in our best interest to help the generations that are coming up to be 21st century citizens, global citizens. So we really believe, at least with the Media and Arts program, which is the program that I run, we have 4 programs, that art and media are a really good way of helping young people to learn about the world. It's a good medium, I guess, to help them. I know, I'm preaching to the choir here. So, to go micro, in the Bay Area, I worked from November to June of this past school year, bless you, with 17 teachers at 12 schools. And all of those teachers teach across disciplines, from dance to science to social studies, English, everything, visual art. And their names are here, and their schools are here, if you're ever curious. A lot of it's one-on-one collaboration. I work with them to help them figure out how they're going to bring in the theme. So we kind of focus on a theme, because you're like, global issues, let's bring global issues in, and it's kind of overwhelming. So we try to kind of hone it down and say, okay, immigration and identity, how can we use this as a lens to talk about global issues and use art doing that? So I help teachers with a variety of things, giving them different readings, talking about the stakeholders of immigration, thinking about diaspora, talking about borders and who creates them, and are they good or are they not. But usually we start with identity and spiral outwards. Start thinking about the self. Teenagers are pretty good at that, because that's where they are in their development, right? So they're thinking about themselves, and we start them out sort of talking about themselves. Move on to actually movement and talk about why people move and migration issues, and then we go to settlement and what happens when different people from different parts of the world settle in one place and how they interact with one another. So that's kind of how we broke it down into those 3 parts. So this is the art teacher. I worked with the art teacher and the librarian. The art teacher did like 4 different projects. They're not all here, but she had them come up with a symbol that represented themselves. They talked about symbolism and sort of what an object says, or what an image would say, and the students kind of put together some ideas. And this is silk screen, and they silk screen them onto t-shirts. And I think that's actually more significant, because it's like their identity symbol on their bodies, and they're sort of performing themselves out in the world. And then they did this sort of simple "My People Are," and I have a template, I have a workshop, like worksheets, and I have DVDs that I can give you guys. None of that stuff you have yet, so I'll make sure that Louisa gets that so she can use it, so you guys can use it. But there's a template. Students will be like, oh my god, I can't write a poem, I'm really scared of poetry. But we made a template that's a piece of cake, so it's got all the different categories, and the students just have to make a list of all the things that are relevant to them. Images from home, sayings that people in their family have said, the people's names that are important to them, their hobbies, traditions in their families, whatever. And then they just put "My People Are" in front of it. And they have a piece of cake. And what this teacher did was she combined a self-portrait, and she used kind of these wild colors, and it kind of reminds me of Fauvism, if you know anything about art history. The kids learned how to draw their own faces using mirrors, and then brought in a variety of wild colors that they felt like represented themselves, and were charged with figuring out where in the image they wanted to put their poem. Their whole poem or part of their poem. So this in itself, I could see translating into a media project. It could be an audio project. They could do, I think newscast is totally cool, and you can go really postmodern with newscast. So I would encourage you guys to come up with some interesting self-portrait ideas. It's just one example. Any questions? Students to sort of have the language of immigration and the language of identity. So this is a teacher that worked with students who were learning English, and he took a bunch of different activities out of the collaborator's guide, which you guys hopefully will have a chance to see. And mostly, I don't know what this is. I feel like it's not what it's supposed to be, but it looks cool. I would love to really know what that is. But anyway, this is a kind of a boring video, but the audio is good. Conversations that were happening in the classroom, and they're just activities that the kids were doing. So they had to act out this definition, and then the kids had to look at the list of them and try to figure out which one was the scenario that they were acting out. You know, and again, I don't know how heavy you guys are going to be going into issues with teachers or groups of kids, and obviously immigration is kind of a heavy issue. So I would guess that you're probably going to focus more on identity stuff. But if you have the opportunity, the vocabulary list is a really fun place to kind of activate. You know, and you can do it in a ton of different ways with theater. This is basically theater. It's just audio. It's just, you know, videotaping of theater. And again, I have no idea what that is. We work with the county court schools also, so they're kids who are like in and out of juvie, and sometimes they'll be in their art classroom with their teacher for a day, and sometimes they're there for weeks. So we came up with a project. That's what this sort of landscape of the Golden Gate Bridge is. The students had to. The water under the bridge is like the struggles that they've had, and you know, they could basically succeed in one day was our goal. You know, they're going to be in that classroom for one day, and then they're going to go to another school, or they're going to go back to juvie. They'll have an opportunity to have completed the project. So that's kind of a difficult population to work with. So we created this kind of mural, collaborative collage mural idea, and I think the land on one side of the bridge. Folks, families, pastimes, and their simple realities.